that this podcast kind of, at least to me, is going to be around topics that, like I said before, it's going to be controversial, and we're coming from three completely different backgrounds, three different religions, different upbringings, different cultures, and everything that you could imagine. So I think that this podcast is really going to dive deep into very large cultural differences and perspectives that may differ very easily. Ali, I'd love to ask you, so just to start with you, where'd you come from?
That's a great question. I came from Karachi, Pakistan. I was technically born there. Over the years, I moved a lot. I lived in Saudi Arabia. I lived on the East Coast, West Coast, and basically in the course of being in the U.S. for, let's say, 11, 12 years, I moved about 11, 12 times, so that's also kind of influenced me as I grew up. That's the kind of part of the story where a lot of things started for me, moving so often, right? So in Pakistan, I was raised a Muslim. So I completed the Quran for the first time. I was 13. There was a huge party. A lot of people came. I had Islamic studies. I had a tutor who used to come teach me. I prayed close to 5 times a day. But again, you're supposed to force a kid to pray, but I was never really forced to pray or anything. And
you don't mind me asking, so with that whole praying thing, how did that how was that to you? What did you feel like you wanted to do that, or did you feel like it was forced upon you?
Yeah. So that's a great question, because Islam, it says that the religion should never be a burden on you. So when I was growing up, I didn't know any better, so that was my life. It basically not revolved around it. It's just that there was no other culture or no other necessarily conversations to be had with people internationally. So it was all normal for me. Later on, I thought it was forced, but then somebody explained it to me that it's not supposed to be that. Then I had to relook everything.
So where did that happen? Were you still in Karachi when someone explained that to you, or
I was in the States? I love that question, dude. I love that question. I was in the States, and the person that taught me that was actually a Muslim convert who used to be a Sikh individual before.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. He changed he completely made me look at things completely.
And just for clarification, when you mean Sikh, do you mean awesome individual, or Sikh as in religious?
So S-I-K-H, their religion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So were you questioning your faith at that time, or was it
At that time, yeah. I was gonna save these for the actual segment, but he's asking really good questions. I have to answer this.
How it's gonna go, right? We want to know, dude.
So this happened. Okay, I used to be a believer. I believed in all of it. I thought Muslims were the chosen people. Okay, I was wrong. I never thought they did anything wrong. So I used to be a mentor in Irvine at ICOI, that mosque over there, for a little bit. And then during that period, I still believed. And then I heard that these 2 kids basically had sex in the bathroom of the mosque. They were teenagers, dude.
Bro, I mean,
I lost so much faith that day. I didn't go to that.
Smited down for that,
dude. I didn't go to that mosque a year to the same day. I didn't go to that mosque for that amount of time.
Bro. So did you go to other mosques though, or no? Did you just sort of I need to take a break from religion?
That was the year that I took a step back from my religion. I read the Bible for the first time. I read Buddhist literature for the first time. Hindu. Taoist. I was searching.
Yeah.
That search basically was forever.
Let me tell you, so, I grew up in the church, so I'm Christian, right?
Yeah.
Specifically a Baptist church, right?
Yeah.
And, dude, that same shit used to have, right? I feel like that's just part of growing up.
I get you. To me, at that time, there was it was like they betrayed what I held so dear. It meant nothing. I felt like the generation that was growing up in America gave not a shit about what little even I cared about our culture and religion.
Mm-hmm.
But let me ask you a question, JB, because I've always wanted to know this. What's the difference? When you said I'm a Christian, but I'm also Baptist. I always wanted to know. Actually.
Dude, I don't think there's really any difference. It's just it's called a denomination, right? So
okay.
There's Christianity, which is the main thing, right? And it's there's an umbrella. Essentially, and there's different little offshoots, right?
Branches, yeah.
Yeah, so there's Catholicism, or like me, Baptist, or there's like Methodist, Lutheran, all these different ones.
Right.
I don't know the specific like differences between all of them, like per se. I have kind of like dude, I mean, like my best is obviously going to be Baptist, at least in my opinion, right? That's just that's what I grew up.
Of course.
So I was in like a Southern Baptist, right? So it was almost like Pentecostal. Like Pentecostal is like lots of like singing, very upbeat, right? So mine was like that, but.
Like how they always depict the black churches in the movies.
Yeah.
So that's a good question that I wanted to ask you about. So in terms of that, like not even in any racial stereotypical way, is that like what black churches are kind of designed around, is around like the singing, and I don't know what the word you said was.
I mean, kind of, yeah. I mean, to me, like, that's just like home, right? Like I don't know, it literally feels like home. Yeah. And like
do Baptists sing?
Churches, yeah. Especially mine, right? Like especially where I grew up, it was like definitely, bro, like you go in the music and you just be like bumping, it's a good time, you know what I mean? It's
that sounds awesome.
That's literally how like, a lot of people would find Christ, right? So like some people, they would just kind of, like stumble in that like Sunday, who knows what they got going on
because of the energy.
Yeah, well, anybody would just like stumble in there, who knows what they got into that Saturday night, maybe, like whatever, right? They were just having some life problems, they wanted to go to church. So then you go to church. And dude, it's the music. They're listening to the music and they connect, and then like something was said in the music, or maybe the word in a prayer, or in like the sermon, and then people end up, I feel like, falling in love, right? Or just realizing, or hitting that
vibrating on a higher frequency in an instant.
Just that's like what I mean, like God is like something that you feel, at least in my opinion. I don't know. Right.
So how did that, like, how did you start in the church? Did you start like from the day you were born all the way up until now? And do you still go? Or?
Yeah, man. Well, So I go. I grew up in the church. And what I mean by that is my family was very much involved in the church, right? So, especially this church. Like, we moved to California, and that's where we've been. Like, so, like my grandfather was like a deacon. My grandmother was heavily involved too. She was like a mother of the church, right?
Yeah.
And then my father was an associate pastor, and me and my brother, we did everything in church. We were ushers. We did like the children's church. We even started our own ministry, right? And it was through like miming. I don't know if you guys ever seen, like what a mime is.
Yeah, of course.
Not a mime, but so like it would play like, so we'd like play a music, and we would kind of act out we would mime it, dude.
Nice.
And, yeah, I know, it was sick,
I
dude.
love
Like,
that.
yeah, it was a hit, and I really, I really appreciated that, and it really helped me identify as to, or it shaped me as to who I am, right? The type of man I am, and the outlooks I have, and really just what's in my heart, right?
So let me ask you this: did you, were your parents like aggressive towards, you need to learn this way of religion, and you don't get to deviate? Were they more accepting if you may want to deviate to, let's say, Catholicism, because you're saying you're Baptist? I don't really know the differences, but was it like you're going to be a Baptist, or you're going to be a Christian, you're not going to be a Muslim or Buddhist or a Hindu or atheist? This is what you're going to believe, or you're not going to be accepted.
Honestly, they didn't even have to do that, because that's, like Ali, that's all I knew, right? That was it. I wanted to be that, right?
Yeah.
Like that was just it. I just grew up there. But did it feel like a chore to go to church every Sunday? Yeah, bro. What kids are gonna do? Especially I love sports, right? So you guys, like both of you know, like I love football, bro. That Sunday, like football.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to watch. We had to go to church, and it was like, damn, like I don't want to go. I want to watch the game, But
and iPhones weren't around in our day, so we couldn't just be watching while the pastor was praying, right?
Exactly.
So let me ask you, Corey. Like, tell us a little bit about yours. Like, where did you start? Where were you born? All that stuff.
Yeah, I was born in Santa Clara. I stayed there my entire life, and my mom was raised. She was a Catholic, and my dad was a Protestant, but in reality, like, they never pushed religion on us strictly. They, you know, it's more like, hey, you know, it doesn't really matter to us. Like, we want you to pray, we want you to have good values, and we want you to know the Word of God, mainly like the Ten Commandments: don't steal, don't lie, don't cheat, treat others like you want to be treated. But it wasn't like, hey, we're going to church every Sunday and this or that, and like that kind of made me kind of like become arrogant to the truth of, you know, religion. Like, I just believed in God because my parents told me you got to believe in God and that's it. But I never really thought about like what God is, or I never got taught the Bible. I never read the Bible. I was never had to go to Bible study. And really only once in my life, when I was being punished, actually being kind of grounded, my dad say, hey, you have to read 5 quotes from the Bible, write a little short summary of what you think that quote means. And that was the only time I really opened up a Bible and kind of tried to read it. And that's it. And that kind of made me like...
That was your punishment?
Yeah, I mean, that's like interesting that he would just pull that out of nowhere, right? Just like, yo, like, read the Bible. You never opened up a Bible before.
Yeah. And
it sounds like an amazing punishment.
But at the time, like, you know, I was a defiant kid. You know, I got in trouble. You know, I wasn't, you know, following the way of God or whatever it's called. And so I never really got...
A little deviant.
Yeah, you know, I was getting in trouble, and that's kind of just how I lived until, like, you said, hey, maybe if I push the Bible on him, that will have good effects. But I think it almost had opposite effects. But I was like, if I'm being forced to do something, that's when I least want to do it.
Well, yeah, you probably wanted to, like, you know, you probably like went through it and were like, man, this is stupid. Like,
it was a punishment. He was literally getting punished.
And it never felt stupid because I knew that there was something grand behind the Bible and just in religion in general.
Sure.
But like, to me, it just never clicked to me, and that kind of made me start questioning God and what God was, and that kind of led me to think about my own religion, like what I wanted, what like made me try and bring logic to what God could possibly be.
So you grew up in a family with all brothers, correct?
Yeah.
So has that had any influence on you or shaped, you know, who you are?
Yeah, I would definitely say that growing up with brothers, like, you know, you got to win. You got to like it because like we're all athletes. We're all competitive.
Were you the youngest?
And I'm the youngest, so you know I always got pushed around, and that really, you know, made me want to win even more. But at the same time, it almost had a damaging effect because my brothers are 3 and 6 years older than me. And me comparing myself to people who are 3 and 6 years older in terms of strength, size, intelligence, and athletic ability, and like thinking, why aren't I up to their level? Maybe I'm not just good enough. So it kind of had a negative effect because it made me question my own abilities. And not until later in life did I come around to find out that, hey, I'm good at what I do. I'm great at what I do, and I can do anything that they can do, and even better at sometimes.
Hey, well, you know, a quick like fun fact. I was on like NPR, so I'm also, you know, as you guys know, I'm a twin. I'm the younger twin, right? But I actually heard on like NPR they were talking about if you wanted to be a like professional athlete, but more specifically champion professional athletes, there was a few, you know, like main I guess, you know, contributors to that. And the first one, the obvious one, was having siblings.
Yeah.
And then being the younger sibling, because you had to work harder, you had to fight more, or whatever. You had to. It just trained you to be more competitive, be more tough, or whatever. And you know, so like Michael Jordan, right? He was like the younger brother, right? And he like already like attributes all his success to his backyard battles with his brother.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's straight up. That was like me and Kyle. You know, we pushed each other. A lot of battles in that backyard, dude. Like before I put on a helmet, like. We were back there smacking each other, just to, like, you know, just like,
wrestling around in the backyard.
Like we would have straight, you know, one-on-ones. Yeah, you know, and then if, you know, somebody got hurt, my dad would be like, oh, you know, walk it off. And yeah, dude, I mean, I feel like that's definitely what, you know, like contributed to my like competitiveness.
Yeah, and I would say, dude,
advantage.
Yeah, and I would definitely say the same with me. in terms of, because like how you're saying you'd slap each other around in the backyard, my brothers and I would always wrestle together, and we'd try and overtake each other. And like me being the youngest, obviously I wanted to build enough strength to compete with my brothers. Yeah. My brothers are both 4 and like 5 inches taller than me, and they weigh 20, 30 pounds. Yeah, they weigh 20, 30 pounds heavier than me. So I had to develop the strength to be able to compete with them. And I think that's kind of what triggered my love for the gym and love for really getting stronger and getting athletic and fit and build as much muscle and strength as possible, to be able to compete with my brothers. And I think that was definitely a contributing factor later on to becoming as athletic as I was, at least in high school. Yeah. But at least, so like, you know, we have brothers growing up. How was it with you growing up with just a sister?
So my upbringing, my family's kind of peculiar. I have a huge family, but we have significantly more girls than boys. Okay, so like the boys are always like looked after. Everybody.
They treat you guys better.
Yeah,
everybody's fed.
If you're a cute kid, you know what I mean. Yeah, they take care of you. But it was different for me because I had a sister. In the sense, it was not like, oh, I can fight with her or compete with her. It was more like basically the day she was born, I was given responsibilities, you know?
Yeah.
It immediately went from I was, you know, the attention. I think I was a really shitty kid for a lot of times because of that. But yeah, you know, it was always like I had to take care of her, which, you know, I'm more than willing to accept and have accepted. But yeah, it was always like a sense of respect. My dad actually always told me that when I die, the older brother is like the father. So for so many years, I never even saw her as my own sister. I saw her as my own daughter. You know what I mean? I helped raise her. She's mean because I made her strong. You know what I mean?
Definitely,
yeah. So
would you think that because I feel like I remember when I was studying psychology that when you have brothers, it makes you, like, in terms of empathy and like compassion, you're more likely to be less compassionate, less empathetical, and like not show as much love as you are as if, you know, you were you're raised up with girls in your family and or siblings, you know, because of the feministic, you know, side that you get to see every day and get to be around. Do you think that may have contributed to a difference in you growing up, is having a sister compared to maybe having a brother?
Bro, 100%. 100%. In a lot of ways, I used to blame myself for growing up soft because of that, okay? Because I was really cared for, like it was all nice, like all my cousins, everybody was nice, you know, they a lot of them changed my diapers, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say it shaped me a lot in terms of respect for women, you know. Sometimes, you know, it's like excessive, if I can respect, like, but this is why I never, for a long time, I didn't even like hanging out with guys. I wasn't even comfortable around them. Because it would be, when I would hang out with guys, when I was like younger, it would be this bro shit where you have to basically be physical and get hit to show your love. I'm like, I don't want this, okay? This is not how I show my love.
I'm definitely like...
Yeah, and I get that. So I played football too, right? That's where the camaraderie came from. I wasn't violent until I played football, you know what I mean? When you're on the gridiron, basically, you have to go to war, kill your enemy. It's a romanticized, it's a war. It's like Teddy Roosevelt, the game of football, you know what I mean?
In terms of sports, though, like kind of, you know, reeling it back to topics, do you think that, like, religion, Jordan, do you think that religion had a strong impact on where you are, like how you played sports? Do you think that you devoted a lot of your strength to God and you would pray before games and hope that God would, like, give you strength? Or do you think that was an afterthought? Maybe later, if you got a win, you're like, oh, it's because, you know, I did it, or it was because God helped me do it? Or at the same point, did you think that when you lost, it had nothing to do with God, it was you, or it was God? Like, did you blame God for your faults and accept God for your wins, or did you accept God for your faults?
Yeah.
Phenomenal question.
Yeah, you know, like, I get what you're saying, but I mean, you know, like, to be honest, no, not really. I didn't, like, think about it at all, man. It was just, you know, it was just like game time, right? You know what I mean? Like, all I did was just try to, like, mentally prepare myself for what I was going to do, right? I mean, I guess I would pray. Actually, so you're right. So I did pray, you know, mostly on health, right? that's the one thing, like, you could get hurt like anytime.
On health?
No, so health.
Oh, okay.
Health. Yeah, so, not to get hurt, but, your will be done, and the rest of that, man, like, whatever happened out there, that was on me.
Yeah.
Right? And because that's just how, you gotta like read and recognize, you gotta be aware, you just gotta go out there and make plays, and be aggressive.
Yeah.
And that's how I've like lived my life, right? I mean, it was really, so my like religious upbringing in sports that really, like shaped who I am.
So would you say, like, even where you are today, would you contribute a lot of that to, God, or do you think that, or do you kind of separate yourself from God and say, hey, like, this is me that did it, and like, God, like, I'm blessed that God has helped me out so much, but this is me doing it? Or do you think, hey, it's like God has been, giving me everything here? Or do you think it's you yourself doing it, and then God has just, blessed you in the back?
Another one.
I think that's actually a really good question. I think that I would have to say a little bit of both. I know that's kind of like a scapegoat answer, but I really do, like thank, God and my parents for how I was raised, and me being in a church I guess it's how you like think about it, right? So I think about it as, my favorite, quote I used to have on my IG all the time, walk by faith, not by sight, right? Mm-hmm. And that's just kind of like one of those things where you just go and, like God's gonna, lead you wherever he wants to lead you, right? But at the same time, I am out here, making decisions. Uh-huh. I make wrong decisions. That's why, you ask for like forgiveness, and it's just because there is some human error, right? I mean, I place myself where I am, right? God might be, like leading my steps, or he might be, protecting me, but ultimately I need to get more in tune with God so he can really take over my life and get me to where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. Right. And as long as I keep putting doubt or leaving more like human error, having more like human error involved, it's probably going to hold me back. Right. Yeah. And that's just, again, I don't know if this is true, but that's just my outlook on it.
So you think that I'm making an assumption here. I don't want to say this is what you believe, but do you think life is your own choices? God may give you an opportunity, but it's your choice whether or not you take it. And the more times you don't take it, the more times the more likely you're not to succeed.
Oh yeah, 100%, definitely, bro. Yeah. That's like when you go into you're faced with a situation, and what's wrong or right, and you decide to do the wrong thing. Like that's it right there, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's like a million things where I agree. Back, like in my head, and in like situations where if I would have done that differently, right? My life, who knows where I've been, but you have those assumptions like, oh, like my life would be like this, right? Yeah. And that's just that's, you can almost internalize that and be like, oh, if I would have like listen to God, right? Your intuition, where like if you knew you did something wrong and you wish you did that, like differently, then that's your intuition, and that's.
So do you think God is part of your intuition?
Yeah, I guess I like the way, I was talking to like Alan, right? And like we went out for some drinks one time. We were just chatting up. I hadn't seen him in a minute. You guys know he's new into his faith, right? Grew up totally atheist, but I asked him like 3 questions. It was, do you talk to God? Have you seen God? And do you listen to God? Yeah. Right. And I could go into like, so obviously like talking to God is like praying, right? And then like seeing God is like,
I've seen God.
Yeah, right.
I'll tell you. Well,
it's not gonna have to hear about that.
We're gonna have to pivot in 1 minute after we hear this last thing. Yeah, after like finish this point. So like when it's like when you like see God, that's like a that's like a smile, right? Or like a miracle that happened. And I mean, I can
vividly remember a few just like miracles where it's just like, wow, like that is God right there for this to happen in that point. Like one time I was lost, nowhere to go. We're out backpacking. There's no trail. We're going in like circles. It's getting dark. We don't know what's going on. We're following random footsteps, and we don't know what to do. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this dude and his girlfriend come, and just so happens this guy was going to the same lake that we were going to. He didn't need the trail. He knew exactly how to get there. They had some extra food for us to eat because we hadn't eaten in hours. We just followed along with them. Boom. That is God. That's seeing God, right? That's a miracle, right? That's just one of those things where you were placed at the right place at the right time and we met, right? And then, so like back on track. So the last thing I asked is, do you listen to God or have you heard God, right? Do you hear him? And that's like a tricky one, right? And, that's like you're faced with like a decision or a like situation, right? And there's gonna be a voice in your head that's screaming at you, right? Usually, especially if you're mad, right? This voice is gonna be screaming at you, oh, like throw this at them or do this, right? But then there's gonna be that quiet, calm voice, that steady voice, right? It doesn't even have to be when you're mad, right? If you're just like thinking, like, what do I do? And so you're stressed out. There's gonna be something screaming at you, oh, do this. But that quiet, calm voice that stays the same in the back of your head, that is what I think God is.
Well said. Very well said.
And would you say that's almost like the devil and the angel on your shoulder?
Essentially, I guess, I didn't like look at it that way, but that is it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So now to pivot.
I
want to know more about all these.
I got
the one and only God.
I have two stories that made me really believe. One of them happened to me. One of them happened to a very close friend of mine who was my brother, still is in a lot of ways. And I believe him when he told me the things that he told me because of the intense, like, traumatic experience that we were all going through together at that time. Yeah. So I'll tell you that one second because that's the more intense one, okay? That's the way more intense one. So the first one is, you guys know I used to work for Michael Kors, right? But I also used to live in the apartment. There was literally, I think Corey 1 or 2 times has been there. Literally, no parking spots ever. I had to park around the corner on the street because I used to work late. And there was some nights, bro. Okay? I'm driving back. I hate myself. Retail's bullshit job. I'm literally the whole drive, I'm praying, okay? I don't even pray like how you're supposed. I was praying for the parking spot, okay? This happened to me on 3 succinct times that made me believe. Okay, when I saw one parking spot at the exact spot where I always like to park, that happened 3 times. I started believing again. Or no, it was like a rejuvenated faith, I was like, that's God, okay? There's no way. There's nothing else right there, okay?
You knew that you needed it, huh?
The second story, okay? Second story is, I didn't want to get you guys sad also, because don't get sad. Don't get sad. It's actually a beautiful... It's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful story. Okay. So there used to be, in Irvine, the first house that we stayed in, at the end of the corner, there was a girl that used to live there. She went to my school. Yeah, we were friends. We hung out. We saw each other. But my friend, who I just told you about, my close friend, he was dating her, okay? We lost her in a car accident, all right? Uh-huh. She burned alive. They couldn't recognize her fucking body, all right? Shit. My friend was the first person the cops came and told because he was the last person that she spoke to. They came in the middle of the night. They came at maybe 2, 3 a.m., okay, just drop this knowledge on him. I don't know where he is now, but I know that at that time, things were volatile. We're still growing kids. We're doing, this, that, the other bad thing or another. Yeah. So this was a lot for him to process, right? So that night, I didn't see him until the morning because we had school. He went onto the train tracks that night, okay? This is what he's telling me. He went onto the train tracks and he said, this is it. I'll wait for there was always freight trains running through there. So he was going to wait for the train. The train was going to come and end him. We used to go to those train tracks all the time. We just hop over a wall, you go, you cross, you hang out at the train track. I don't know, okay? So he's there in the middle of the night. He told me this. He said an old man came to me. He told me as I was standing there, whether this is just in his own mind, it's still incredible, dude. It's still incredible.
Yeah.
He said an old man came to me. He only said he had a face that was welcoming, but I didn't see his face, but I knew that he had a white beard. Okay? He was wearing raggedy clothes, he said this. He was wearing raggedy clothes. He came up to him, and my friend didn't say anything to him, okay?
And for context, where is this? Is this back in Pakistan or is this in America?
This is in Irvine, California. This is Irvine, California. This is my junior or senior year, I think.
Okay.
So 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
And he said, the guy just walked up to me. I didn't say any words. He said, my son, you need to get off these tracks. And he said, now is not your time. And he got off the tracks, and that's that.
Wow.
And I saw him next morning.
How old was this kid?
He was a year older than me. He was 18.
He was 18?
He was 18 at the time.
Wow.
As far as I know, there's no, conditions that he has that would make him see something like this. But I know for a fact that he went through a tremendous amount of trauma. I told our friends, I said, we're staying with him for as long as it takes. We're not going home. So it was intense, yeah.
And suicide, it's a powerful thing, suicide, right? And, and not to stereotype, your religion at all or connect you to, the terrible extremists of one society. But do you think suicide is still, is the gates of heaven still, or, sorry, I don't know what you call in your religion.
It's the gates of heaven.
Yeah. Are they still open to people who commit suicide? Because at least in my assumption and what I feel like I've heard about Christianity is that it's a sin to commit suicide. So is it a sin to commit that in Muslim heritage or religion? And if it is, why do the extremists of the Muslim religion think that it's okay to go out and bomb
to be like a martyr?
Yeah, but that's a great question. We have to unpack some of the things first, okay? Because it can easily be misconstrued, this whole thing. Yes. So the first part of your question is,
do you think is in the Muslim heritage, is it a sin to commit suicide?
So from what I know about for Christianity, for instance, I just actually recently heard that it's only the the guy who commits suicide, he's the guy who definitely deserves hell or something like this. Okay, that's Christianity. Now Islam, the gates of heaven don't open for him. He doesn't see the clouds. He doesn't get judged by God. Okay. In Islam, it says that the person that kills himself is damned to walk the earth for an eternity.
Like Cain.
Like his soul, yes. Like Cain, exactly like Cain. Right. Exactly like Cain, except Cain, assuming he doesn't die, he's still alive and is immortal. You die when you kill yourself, except your soul walks the earth until
lives with all the humans.
Until the day of judgment, when that happens, however it may happen, and then you get judged.
So I'm doing our, a little fact check here, and so, from what I'm finding, there's nothing specifically in the Bible that condemns suicide.
Okay.
So take that however you want to take it. I don't know.
No, good shit.
And I feel like it's almost the same thing. With being gay, right? It's a lot of times people say, being gay is wrong, but I don't think there's really anything in the Bible that necessarily calls out being gay. Again, here, I'll just fact check this real quick. As far as I know, I don't think
so. In the Bible, and from my slim knowledge of the Bible, and I've asked this question before, it's why is being gay very against Christianity and everything like that? Is because in the Bible it says that love is between a man and a woman, and so not to say extremists, but people on the more aggressive side of things say that and take the word for it that it's between a man and a woman. So it can't be between a man and a man or a woman and a woman or anything else. It has to be because
that's just
but to say,
right? That's not to say that if you're gay that that you're gonna go to hell or something.
Yeah, but to say that it didn't exist and people weren't having fun back then doing the same thing is not true, because we had Sodom and Gomorrah, right? They were having a blast. Okay, they were having a fun time in there.
Yeah,
right?
I actually do not know who Sodom or Gomorrah.
So you understand the word sodomite?
No.
So that's a very intense way of...
sodomy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Sodom, that's what they were doing. That's basically like the story.
And what was the other one?
Gomorrah.
I don't know. I've heard that in a different...
So JB's going to do a fact check. He's going to look it up.
Fact check here.
Yeah. But real quick, while he's doing the check, so let me break down the second part of your question, correct? Because it's a heavy one, yeah?
Yes.
So why do these guys go out and build themselves up and then, call themselves martyrs and say that there's these things promised to them in heaven and blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
So first thing, Islam is known to condemn extremism. It's written in the text. If you eat too much chicken, you're a sinner, Anything in excess is bad. It says even, so the Prophet Muhammad, he only took enough on the plate that, a little bit, and he would eat a little bit until he's full versus slapping all this food on it.
Yeah.
So these are concerns. That's a little side thing. But now these guys, without affiliating what they do with the religion, that's how I'm going to speak, because all they are is a terror organization, okay? A terror organization that, whether it's rogue or however small it may be, it still needs influence, it needs to spread so it can spread terror, okay? Yeah. Whatever international or domestic government or otherwise entities are involved with that, I prefer not to speak on that, okay? Yeah. But these guys, they need power. These guys recruit not people from, for instance, my social circles when I was in Pakistan. They recruit from the most uneducated. A lot of the time, these kids have nothing to do, and they're living to die. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
I'm not saying what they're doing makes it okay.
And do you think that they're instilled from the day that they're born into that extremist lifestyle, or do you think that they find it later on?
Well, I mean, that's a very specific question, because I don't know if they have wherever they're hiding in caves or whatever, if they're breeding and, having communities and shit like that. I don't know. I don't know who's in charge, or who's making these, decisions and shit, but obviously they're really shitty decisions. But if you just look at that organization, they take certain aspects of the religion. They take the aspects that can be glorified, and then to an uneducated mind, they can be brainwashed, and that idea can literally be implanted into their head.
Okay.
They do propaganda shit, they're Kim Jong-un status fucking they have the pictures, the torture.
Propagandized into believing that this is the correct way to live.
Yes, right? Yeah, but it's I don't even know if they're thinking about correct ways to live, because they're thinking about correct ways to die.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense,
Okay, so I did the fact check, and there is a couple verses where it talks about, not being... it's an abomination or whatever.
Yeah, so just hit one of them.
Sodomy, or to be gay, or
there's one. So I haven't got through all of them, but
so maybe we can do a segment on that.
So this is we're gonna have to pivot off this, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's
because I don't necessarily want to know what it says. I want to know why it says it. Yeah, I want someone to explain that.
One says it's one here. I'm on Leviticus 18. Verse 22, it says, "You shall not lie with the male as with a female; it is an abomination." So I mean, these are just what I'm going off the internet. I mean, I have to pull up.
Because when somebody what is a Christian person supposed to say? Because they're because it's gross. What are they? Where's the reasoning? I
don't know. It doesn't say it's necessarily a sin, right? It seems like it's more of frowned upon type of thing,
taboo,
right?
Taboo.
Taboo's a good one. But
passe, risque.
If we go back, but if we pivot back real quick, right? I saw this, or I read this crazy article today, and I'm not sure if you guys heard about it. It was on Daily Mail. I don't know if you guys let's check that out on Snapchat or some shit, right?
Yep.
I don't know. I was born.
I try not to.
Yeah, I was born. Yeah, right.
I try not to. Yeah, for it's not real. It's
not real.
So fake.
It's so fake, right? And
I'm glad we all agree.
It's horrible.
Yeah, do a fact check if it's fake news.
Yeah, no, that's fake as fuck. But anyways, check this out. There's this one chick. Her name Azalea Banks or something, right?
She was talking that's the rapper.
Yeah. I guess she's a rapper, but she's been word on the street is pushing out some witchcraft shit, right? She was saying how she fucking dug up her cat and fucking.
She's notoriously Christian or what?
No, she's just said that she's a witch, right?
Oh, so she can do that shit. We have it's America. We have freedom.
Check this out. So like she's dug up her dead cat or some crazy shit. Yeah, she like dug up her dead cat to like bring it back to life, or I don't know, some weird shit. Yeah. And then all types of people were, you know, like coming at her, right? Yeah. And then she was saying, she said something how like you know, like Christianity, when they do communion, you know, you're supposed to drink like the blood or whatever. Yep. So they're like, you know, she's like, that's like sacrifice. But you know, that's like human like sacrifice. That's a ritual. And you're drinking, you know, like
it's a ritual
blood, right? Yeah. So then, what, you know, she was like, are Catholics fucking, you know, like vampires or something like that? And I was like, fuck. I mean, I was like, damn, that's actually a good point, right? Like, that's like some, you know, you're supposed to eat the bread, which represents the body, right? So like, is that like cannibalism? If we go in here, like, I mean, who knows, right?
That's like, exactly right, Jesus. That's exactly right.
Oldest, and that's like the oldest thing, right? And like all the whole thing. So I mean, you got to take all these things with like a grain of salt. And like what you said, Corey, right? And in the beginning, you got to like look at religion as like in like more of like a logical like standpoint, right?
Yeah.
You know, as I said, like I was like heavily involved in the church growing up, and you know, and my father was, you know, like I said, associate pastor, helped run things in the church. I got to see like how it operates and stuff. And I mean, me personally, I feel like, and you know, again, this is my own opinion, my own experience, which shaped my outlook on things. And I feel like going to church is not something that you need to do to be you know, to be like,
totally agree.
You know, and I
agree.
You know, I've seen just things I've seen in the church, you know, it just really bothered me. And after I saw it, I've never really been the same since, right? You know what I mean? I had some experience, you know, like we can talk about that, you know, like another time as more like details into it. I don't want to dive too deep right now, but
yeah, we should definitely do that segment.
It definitely changed my outlook on things. And ever since, I haven't been able to find another church home since then. I've searched, you know, but it's just, there's something about it, you know. I've just seen things, and then I go to other churches, and then I see similar things, and it just stays with me, you know.
Yeah, and you know, like with at least in my own personal view, when I was trying to, you know, come up with my own logic for what I think God is, my own religion, and all that kind of stuff, I saw all that stuff, all like, you know, the sin and the crimes and all this stuff, and I said to myself, well, hey, you know, if you're a true believer, you go to church every day, every week, and then you go and commit a bunch of sins later on, then like you're really just a bunch of hypocrites. You're not really like you say you're a Christian, but really are you a Christian if you're not really following the faith? And that's what really made me fall out of religion and just in general, and made me start thinking like not necessarily that God wasn't true or God wasn't there. It's just more the fact that like people might not know what God is, and just people might think that like they know, and like the big institutions and organizations, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, and all these different things, they have a good grasp for what society can hold on to. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the actual truth. And there's not a lot of logic behind it, because humans are made of error. They're not perfect. And if they were perfect, then, you know, religion would be perfect, but they're not. And so that made me think, okay, something's not right here. I need to ask bigger questions of what if God is supposedly all powerful, all controlling, then there wouldn't be all this evil, and I wouldn't be able to choose to commit a sin if he's all powerful, all knowing. And
that's the philosophical question of the problem of evil, right? So why is there evil?
But you know, I will say this. I think you have to go to church, right? And just to find that relationship, right? Like there's no way that like you can just, you know, go about your life and then all of a sudden like understand what God, like I was able to, I like I said, because of my upbringing stuff, I built a relationship with God. I feel like it's a feeling that I've felt before, and then I understood, and it's really just like something within you that I feel like it's hard to truly grasp. I don't know. Like I said, I have a biased opinion, right? Like I don't know
because you're a believer.
Other people. Yeah, I don't know what other people. There might have been other people who never been to church or anything like that, and might be a better Christian.
Well, there's people went to church and they ended up being serial killers.
That's what I'm saying. Like you could go to church every Sunday. It doesn't make you.
Yeah, and I would have to say I disagree with you saying that you have to go to church to find God and have a good concept on God.
You got to go to a holy place.
It doesn't necessarily need to be church. Yeah, a holy place,
you can't go to
anything like that. Because, but you don't even need to you really don't even need to do that because you're sitting across from someone who's been to church maybe 10 times in his entire life, and before I even fell out of the Christian way of believing, I had a good concept of what at least what God was, and I knew what God was. But that doesn't it was I didn't need to go to church to learn that. I could be instilled that through my parents and through you could be taught the Bible and never see a church in your life. Or your parents can just say, hey, you need to pray to God because God is going to give you strength in this and that.
That's true.
What if your religion doesn't even have a holy place to go to?
Or a place of worship.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to touch on something you said earlier also on the point of hypocrisy. When I was telling you the story about the kids in the mosque and I left, that was my first thing. I was, look at these hypocritical, mofo. Like, how dare you, know? How dare you sully this?
Yeah.
This is a holy place.
Yeah.
Well, dude, bro.
Couldn't you just wait?
But the second thing that you said aligns, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go for it.
Second thing you said aligned with the hypocrisy because you were mentioning the fact that Christians, for instance, the ones that you grew up around or you saw, that is a very distinct thing that we noticed as Muslims coming here. Okay, because I wrote down here, I wanted to share that. So I was growing up here, I was basically rooted out from where I was and I was brought here, right? I didn't develop roots anywhere else. I was trying to build them here, and basically I didn't even know who I was. I didn't even know myself.
Yeah.
So it became increasingly harder to try to stay, connected to the religion or be qualified again as a Muslim, especially when you would see for instance, if the Christians were just, at least that we met, were as strict as Islam, I would be a Christian today.
Yeah.
Okay, because my parents would have adapted because of if they're saying the same thing, right?
Yeah.
That's maybe, but I'm just saying if they were also as conservative as us, we would go ahead and do that.
Do you think that the Muslims in Pakistan followed the way of Islam a lot stronger in the sense they followed the word of God and followed the traditions of God, not necessarily extremists, just meaning more they were strict to the religion and followed the way of the word of God. But when you come here, you saw that they're a little bit more lenient. They may not have gone to church 5 times a day. They may eat pork, or they may eat different certain meats that they're not supposed to, or do things that they're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
Do you think that you saw that a lot more in America than you did in Pakistan, or was it the same in Pakistan?
Or was it even better?
So yes and no. You guys are both bringing up. So yes and no. Let me break this down. So if you look at Pakistan, it's the top 5-10% of the country, and then there's everybody else. Everybody else is, let's say, more religious than them, and I'll break down them also, but more religious than them in the sense that they have nothing but faith.
Yeah.
Where for them, or for the elites of that country, they pretend, they pretend to be religious. They don't give a shit. Okay, They're drinking, they're whoring. This is when I found this out. I was like, Pakistanis doing this?
Yes.
What are you talking about? Yeah, it's a very real thing. My dad was even like, yeah, my boss, this boss, that guy. I was like, what are you talking about?
What are they doing?
So again, for people that it's about money, okay, literally nothing else matters to them. Maybe family matters to them. But these values that normal people have about religion, God, faith, they are faithless.
Yeah. And you're saying these are the elites that are faithless, but the people on the lower end of the spectrum, or lower end of the socioeconomic scale, were a lot more strict to the values of Islam.
Yeah, because, and I'll say something else after that. Technically, Pakistan has still technically a lot of freedoms. You can practice your own religions. Pakistan has always been a land where everybody was. So the city that I come from, Karachi, it's old soul name is Kolachi, and that used to be like a metropolitan city when we were colonized. Like everybody was there, French, everybody, lake, you know?
I see. Wait, like lake, like what do you mean? Is it
my last name?
Yeah, so like what is that like originate?
So there's like so technically I come from a tribe, okay? I come from a tribe that's called the Sheikh tribe. They're not literally like tribal peoples anymore, okay? But they developed and built themselves through they're like known as merchants. So the Sheikh tribe, there's like merchant tribe. That kind of rushes through my blood. So like before, so there's a story that goes. No, I'll get too in deep. It's too much. But basically, like before the colonizers came, there was a certain amount of money that my great grandfather had. That was basically taken away, and he was enslaved or in indentured servitude, basically for however rest until I don't know if it was an escape or eventually they just waited till they left. You know what I mean?
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
I think they just waited till they left, to be honest. The hell, what are they gonna do? They took my grandfather's ships. What the fuck was he gonna do? You know what I mean? Yeah.
So were you saying that it was like another land came in, or another another group of?
Yeah, the British Empire.
The both, yeah. Oh, sorry, I missed that part.
No, I just like fucking with
blanked on.
I just like fucking with yeah. So we were colonized. So Britain owned everything. Britain owned 99% of this shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Britain owned everything.
And when did they colonize you guys?
I don't know when.
When did they colonize Pakistan?
Yeah. So it was okay. It was not Pakistan wasn't a thing. Pakistan didn't exist. It was India.
It was with India. Yeah.
It was India.
Yeah.
It was not with. It was India.
Yeah.
It was India. Okay. Yes. Now, basically, our founder, Pakistan's founder, his name is Muhammad Ali Jinnah. He was the leader of the Muslim party. The opposing party was Gandhi. Okay. Yeah. So they were boys or whatever in India. Now, basically, there was a civil war between Hindus and Muslims at that time. Okay. And for instance, the stories go that they would take a pig and throw it in the mosque and run around. But our side is biased, obviously, because we're like, they fucked us up. Okay, but we also fucked them up. It was a war, okay? It was a war. Basically, Pakistan was formed in 1947 when that Muslim party was like, hey, we need a land of our own. They called it Pakistan. Pak is pure land, okay? That's what they're trying to do.
Okay.
In the beginning, okay, basically there was a line drawn and a fence put up, okay? Yeah. In the beginning, there was 25 families that ruled and owned all of the assets in that country.
Yes.
Those families still exist. Technically, if you look at where I was in the social strata, I'm fucking like 5-6 rungs down from them still. Yes. Like these kind of people. But they said that it was formed based off of Islam, but even today, India actually has the largest population of Muslims.
Oh, really?
So the partition, in my opinion, was about allocating natural resources, sectioning and sanctioning off power, and maintaining the rule of the few.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a money move, right?
Exactly.
I mean, and dude, so like I was going, so all these like wars, right? That have to do with like religion, and it's just, in my opinion, just total like nonsense, right? And I mean, like you said, there was your opinion of it is that it, between like Pakistan and India, it really was just about money, not so much like religion, and even with like Christianity and like Islam, there's like this feud or this beef, if you have it. And I gotta say, a lot. I've met so many great, Muslims. You know what I mean? Just like cool people, good-hearted, and I think what we talked about before as to why we even wanted to make this podcast was, like I said in the beginning, was to bridge that gap, right? Bridge that gap as to the differences, between like people, races. We wanted to come together just to understand it's really not that different, right? Like, like Islam might have some different ways of going about, like worshiping, but the underlying thing is we all believe in like the same thing, right? And so it was like our difference in religion between this table, between the three of us, and also our upbringings are different between the three of us, but yet we're still